Okay, so I guess on a lonely, cold night in Dublin, early in the month of August 2017, there's an incident involving a man who reached into his pants, pulled out a sock with a sharply drawn face on it, attempted to deliver a wrestling move to another man, who blocked that move by doing a leapfrog. And he blocked the man's hand wrapped in a sock pulled from his own pants. And he blocked it with his genitals. Yes, I'm talking about Mick Foley versus Joey Ryan. And the test of strength. As I also get into the Jim Cornette reaction, which was and everything else associated with it. First, let's talk about Mick Foley. Depending on your age and watching wrestling, you either remember Cactus Jack from WCW, where he took bumps on the concrete. Or you remember Deathmatch Mick Foley Cactus Jack. Or you remember when Mankind first debuted in WWE, and he would, well, the F at the time, WF, punch him in the head when pulling his own hair. And did spots and bumps onto concrete. Or you might know later when he became Cactus Jack and had bloody, vicious brawls with members of Evolution. Or you might know him as Dude Love, the guy who came to the ring kind of dancing and did a kick to the shins. Or the Mick Foley you remember was the commissioner of Raw, who said, "Have a nice day." And I was amazed was to be in this town, because your local sports team was awesome. It was all about cheap pops. Or, perhaps you know, literary Mick Foley. Santa Claus Mick Foley. That guy on that show in the E with the blonde. For a lot, or you know him as the guy who pulled a sock out of his trunks. They had a face on it called Mr. Socko. And he put the sock that he pulled from his trunks onto his hand into someone else's mouth. So you might know him for more of a comedic sense and less of a hardcore sense. That's Mick Foley. Joey Ryan he's pretty much best known for having the strongest genitals in professional wrestling. His genetic jackhammer and his grapefruits rival that of Mr. McMahon. We'll only know when the progeny of Joey Ryan shows up, if they are equal or greater value to that of McMahon. So, if you guys watch the spot, it's actually, when you look at the crowd, like the crowd is dying. I mean, it's hilarious. Because when you watch it, it's Foley, mandible claw, he's gonna go for it. Oh, flashback to, you must remember when Mick Foley had a mandible claw standoff against Santino Marella, who also pulled out a Cobra sock and would do that and knock out opponents. So he's done comedy for a long time. So he goes for the move. Joey leapfrogs it. Okay, I guess. And Socko meets right onto the Tower of Power and the Spears of Destiny. And then Mick sells it, because everyone sells it. I mean, you can watch spots where like 4 guys are holding on to his junk, and then their junk like in a chain, and he's using the power of his genitals flowing through everyone else, like when you whiz an electric fence and you hold hands. And he flips 4 guys with it. It's just the raw power that he possesses. Joey Ryan's a comedy wrestler. That's fine. Because you know what you need every now and then in wrestling? Especially if it's like, deathmatch, deathmatch, deathmatch. Comedy spot where the dude does a junk flip. I mean, he's the one guy who does it. My thought? You know, if you're trying to get people into wrestling, and they see stuff like that, that's going to make them turn off. It is. But I also remember watching a match that was, I think it was Colt Cabana. And he was down doing the, like the, I'm punching you in the junk. And people were jumping onto his arm. And the crowd was dying laughing. Because it's a comedy spot. It's the one-liners that got thrown into action films. Mick likes seeing people smile. He likes people laughing, having a good time. He wants to entertain. Professional wrestling now, for the most part, is sports entertainment. Sometimes it's entertaining sports, where entertainment takes the front seat and sport takes the back seat. Jim Cornette is old school. But he did have a mummy in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And he did have 2 white rappers around the time Vanilla Ice was popular. It's not like he hasn't done pseudo-comedy stuff too. But he didn't have like a true comedy character. If you watch the episode, you also know of the Yeti! If not, OSW Review, you can watch Halloween Havoc where the Yeti comes down. WC had RoboCop save Sting from a steel cage. WWE does like a yearly thing with either Scooby-Doo or the Flintstones. The time of wrestling being considered a true man sport has kind of fallen by the wayside. You mix martial arts now. It is to be said that the overall kiddie nature of the WWE, which is back to almost, we're not quite at like 80s yet, but we're close. We're not like the job era, where everyone had a job while they were a wrestler. But it's gotten to a point where it is more family friendly. So people who probably would have been wrestling fans have shifted to mixed martial arts, where it's dudes beating each other bloody, knocking each other out, and having like profanity-laden tirades in the octagon, in the build-up to their matches. So understand Cornette's idea of all this is killing the business. The business he knows of has been dead since like the late 90s. Most people understand that this is it's fighting, but they're working together. Sometimes it's more choreographed, other times people just calling in the ring, but it's 2 guys working with each other to put on a fight. It's no different than any other action film that you see, any other TV shows you've seen. If there are 2 people who are fighting, you've got a stuntman, and you've got your main character. In this one, they're the same person. The person doing all of the moves is also the character. It's fine. The genie's out. Does that mean you still get emotionally invested? It's difficult. Because now, with the internet, we actually know everything about a wrestler. Back in the 80s, if you wanted to see a big match, you get a pay-per-view. If you didn't say pay-per-view, well, you either read about it in a magazine, or if you were lucky, your video store might have had a couple of tapes, and you could watch one of those. If you wanted to see Ric Flair, either you lived in a region that had him, or you found somewhere in your town and you drove out and you saw him. Why were gates so huge? Because not every single event was recorded or televised or even notated. A lot of things happened where, there's not a lot of information about it. There's maybe some still shots, no live video like there is now. So people could run the same match in 3 or 4 different territories because nobody knew what the match was. Now, a match happens anywhere. Someone's probably live tweeting it. It's on one of the thousands of wrestling websites. There's GIFs of it. There could be someone could have periscoped it. Someone could put it on Twitch. Could be on YouTube. Could be on Vimeo. Could be on Daily Motion. There's a ton of websites it could be on. Or they could upload it, and also there's a password protected vault that you have to, do a direct message to the person holding the password. They can send you the file on it. There's a lot of ways for information to travel now that just didn't happen in the 80s. So of course gates are going to go down. Do I need to see you live? I can see you on TV. Any day of the week. With the network I can watch anything that's happened, except for most house shows. But if it was a big match, guess what? it's recorded somewhere. I was able to watch the Sheamus Brock Lesnar match. That was a house show, which was really good. I saw the Sheamus Rusev match, which was really good. I'm like, man, it should be on like regular television. So surprised that with the network they actually don't tape more of these big matches. And that way then as a signed portion of the network you could say, you know, here's some of the greatest matches of so-and-so that are from house shows. But you need to go to a house show unless you really, really want to see it live. You'd have to see it live. If you just want to know who won. If you don't throw the money down, to drive out to a parking lot, to pay for parking, to have to find a good space to park, to sit in a place for 4 hours with other people, in a cramped chair, people getting blasted, drunk, yelling obscenities, probably not going to go. When you watch the older footage on the network and you see the crowd, you know, there are people who are dressed fairly well. Why? Because it used to be more expensive to go see a wrestling event. When you look at how much money people have for disposable income versus going to see wrestling events. Now ticket prices are high. Am I going to go drive out to a Raw? Nope. SmackDown? Nope. Way too much time spent talking. Most pay-per-views? Nope. I would take over Chicago. You didn't go to Backlash. No. I used to go to every event in Chicago. Now it's a hassle. I'm the person who has the money to do whatever the E wants. I'm choosing not to. I still enjoy it, not as much as I used to. Other responsibilities. Happens. I think there's probably enough other people who are, you know, wrestling fans who are near 40 who kind of go, meh. Do I want to spend $100 to get a photo with Charlotte at Wizard World, Chicago? It's like $100, take a half day off work. So a lot of this, you've just been worn down. But you look at this photo, I'm looking right now, here's people are standing. That's a packed venue, small venue. But those are the hardcore wrestling fans. And, you know, do I think that someone who's watching this and is enjoying this might also be a fan of CZW? Sure. Might they also be a fan of the E? Not as much. They probably like one or two guys, so they probably watch the match on YouTube, but they're not watching the whole show. They might buy a t-shirt, but they're not going to go to a show and watch a guy. That's fine. Cornette's response to, well, wrestlers now make less money than any other sports athlete. On average. Yes. That's because when it comes to most sports, you don't have a tremendous amount. There's not multiple versions of the NBA. You have the NBA. Where with wrestling you have, or for the big ones, WWE. Global Force, Impact, Owl, Wrestling. Ring of Honor. Those are your big ones. Then you still have Shimmer. You have Shine. IWA Mid-South. Guerrilla Pro Wrestling is still going well. I think CZW is still going well. You have House of Hardcore. And I'm not even getting into all of this really, really small regional promotions. Like Evolve. And if you want to go worldwide, then you go New Japan. Progress. I mean, you start getting farther out, there's wrestling companies all over the planet. We don't see it with other sports. You know, for football, you've got NFL, Canadian Football League, World League Football. It's really about it. So you're a football player, American football, you know, it's pretty standard how much money you're going to make and where you're going to be at. Smaller markets. It's not a global thing. You know, I'm pretty sure Kenny and Young Bucks are making plenty of money. Could they make a lot more? Of course they could. Do they prefer creative freedom to money? Yes. Yes, they do. Does Cornette hate them too? Yes. Yes, he does. Because they prefer creative freedom to money. They want to do things that are funny, that are goofy. Doesn't need to always be serious. Sometimes you want to wrestle a stuffed doll. Sometimes you fight the invisible opponent. You know, I've seen Kota Ibushi lose to the guy who effectively is a blow-up doll. Took a sick-looking powder from him, too. Hey, you know what? Crowd dug it. Not everyone likes the same style of wrestling or is there for the same thing. Some people might go, man, did you see that guy? Yeah, the one who hit with the weed whacker in the stomach? Yeah, that was pretty wicked. Ha, he's using a joint to flip somebody. It's okay to have that break. Could this be the cool down spot before a hot main event? Yeah, of course. It gets the crowd, if the crowd's super, super tense, you throw in a joke like this, it breaks that tension, you build it back up again. Here you go. Why not? Everyone's there, people are smiling, there's cameras out everywhere. I mean, there are people who are laughing so hard they got their hands over their face. So from Mick's standpoint, he was successful. From Jim's standpoint, he's killing the business. But this horse has been beaten. It's been resurrected and then beaten down again. I mean, there's nothing left of this horse. And there won't be for several years.